Oh, howdy all, grab yourselves a beer, it is time for some Path of Exile. And today what I wanted to do is showcase a build that I've played in the past that will still work perfectly well in 3.7. And this is a Deadeye Elemental Hit build, critical strike oriented. The Deadeye provides the incredible Ricochet node, skills chain +1 times. This is absolutely absurd with a character that uses a bow as its primary weapon. It also provides Fast Shot, Gathering Winds for just basically more speed doing everything, and Fast and Deadly, which again is attack speed, projectile damage, accuracy rating, and faster use of Blink Arrow. All these combine to make a fast moving, fast hitting character that I think is worth just showing off in a map first. I'm a bit rusty with this character. This was a character that I played in Incursion League and has not really been played much since, but you'll see that they're still very capable of obliterating monsters. There are two primary attacks that they use. There is Elemental Hit as a single target skill, and there is Elemental Hit as a massive AoE coverage skill. So let's just demonstrate the two different versions of the skill once I get out of this horrible hinder effect. So first up, we have Elemental Hit as a single target skill, which you're seeing here. This deals phenomenal damage, and I'll get to the mechanics that make that happen later. All it matters for the moment though is that it just rips things to shreds. And then there is Elemental Hit as an area coverage skill. This one sets off the Mirage Archer that you see over my head at the moment, the little green phantasm that is firing off arrows as well while I'm running around, which then continues to fire off arrows after I engage the next set of monsters. Oh, that's always a nice little present to pick up there. Now I'll keep running through this this map. You will notice that although this is a tier 14 map, monsters are dying quickly as you would like them to do, and I'm actually using gear that would no longer be considered best in slot or even particularly good on this build. I'm using the unique bow Quill Rain, which was savagely nerfed a couple of patches ago and is no longer a particularly good choice for this build. The reason I'm still using it is that I just happen to have a 6-link version of it, and it's still with 6 links is still better than a random 4-link bow that I could quickly make. You'll see that monsters just die quickly, and I've got the ability to teleport all around the place with Blink Arrow. So let's just go and kill a map boss as a demonstration of exactly what's going on. I'm very rusty with this build, and that will show when I get to the boss. I will probably end up stuffing up and dying on the boss, because I haven't been playing this character for a long time. In any case, let's just jump in here, aggro the boss, get the hell out of that big attack. This character is not tanky. You do not stand still and tank big hits. You get the hell away from them. Otherwise you wind up getting squishified. I've got increased area of effect on this map, which is a nasty mod on this boss. One of the things that I'm able to do here is get out of that first. Because I can only see one of the monsters, but if there are any others nearby, attacks that hit it will chain off it to other monsters. This bosses normally die quicker than this. This one's taking a while because 1, Quill Rain is terrible at the moment, and 2, I'm just not familiar with the build. I'm making a lot of mistakes in terms of dealing damage. Because I was just killing a tier 16 boss before and it died in next to no time. Now this is the boss phase here. And you'll notice that the various projectiles I'm firing are bouncing off one monster, hitting all the others. That's the chain that the Deadeye Ascendancy provides. Very, very powerful effect. I'm also setting monsters on fire with powerful ignites, and that is causing them to suffer combustion, which decreases their fire resistance, causing them to take more and more damage. But we'll go through all the mechanics of the build in a sec. And I just succeeded in getting killed because I was completely careless. In any case, I think I've demonstrated the capabilities of the build, even with that little debacle at the end. This is the passive tree. The critical things are these two combat-focused jewels. 1 and number 2 up here. What these do is they modify the elemental hit skill to cause it to only ever deal fire damage. So let's bring up elemental hit. Elemental hit. Each attack with this skill will choose an element at random, so it will deal fire, cold, and lightning, and be only able to deal damage of that element. If the attack hits an enemy, it will also deal damage in an area around them, with the radius being larger if that enemy is suffering from an ailment that's related to that element type. So if that means if they're on fire, then they'll take more damage from fire. It will avoid choosing the same element twice in a row, but wait on that one. You'll see here that it deals 590 to 1096 fire damage to attacks, plus lots of cold, lots of lightning. What I'm doing is I am preventing it from choosing cold damage, and I am preventing it from dealing lightning damage. So what the gem effectively does is, firstly, it deals 590 to 1096 fire, plus 483 to 896 cold, plus 95 to 1802 lightning damage. Then it ignores all of those damages that are not fire at the very end. However, in between those steps, it's able to convert damage. And we're using very powerful conversion items conversion shenanigans in order to abuse this synergy. So firstly, the lightning damage. We are converting 40% of the lightning damage to cold damage via use of the Call of the Brotherhood unique ring that you see here. So that means that this, let's just call this 95 to 1802. That is an average of 948 damage. Let's call that 948 lightning damage, and we're converting 40% of that to cold, and we are converting 50% of it to fire via Avatar of Fire, which converts 50% of lightning damage to fire. So this means that instead of dealing 950 lightning damage, we are now dealing 475 fire and approximately 380 cold damage. So now we have 380 cold plus the cold damage that's implicit to the skill here. The cold damage that's implicit to the skill here is 483 to 896. So let's call that 680 damage, plus the 480 that we're getting from the lightning. Plus the 380 we're getting from the lightning. So let's call that 1060 cold damage. Of that 1060 cold damage, we are converting 50% of it to fire by virtue of Zoph's Blood, Avatar of Fire, and 50% of it to fire by virtue of this Cold to Fire gem. So in other words, all of that is added as fire damage. So this means that we're dealing approximately, we're dealing almost 1,000 cold damage, plus we're dealing the inherent fire damage of Elemental Hit. But we're only ever choosing fire, and that's important because it means that we're basically getting maximum benefit from all three of these mods: adds fire, adds lightning, and adds cold, all of the time. The enormous amount of fire damage that we're doing is causing Combustion to go off, which is exceptionally good for us. We're also using elemental damage with attacks at scale damage. We're using Cold to Fire to scale things further, and also to provide us with even more added fire damage. And then we're using greater multiple projectiles and Mirage Archer for coverage. This provides an enormous amount of damage to lots and lots and lots of targets, as you can see here. Now let me just reactivate my auras. I don't play this character often, but I would like it to be correct for the next time I do log into them. Now, that's a starting point. Then, in addition to that, we're scaling critical strikes. there's a whole number of things on the passive tree that provide us with a whole number of nodes on the tree that provide us with critical strike multiplier with bows. So here we have 30% critical strike multiplier with bows. Up here, oh, we didn't actually take Throat Seeker. That's one that I would take if I got 3 more levels on this character. We have a number of other nodes that provide us with critical strike multiplier and critical strike chance. Ultimately, we wind up we're scaling critical strikes, and we're scaling all of our damage conversion into fire in order to maximize the damage that we're able to deal. Now that's for multiple targets. Do not use Quill Rain. I'm using Quill Rain here because it was very good at the time that I was personally playing this character. But with recent nerfs to Quill Rain, you've seen how it still performs, but it's not the monster that it used to be. For single target, we are using a second elemental hit set up inside Frostferno. Here we're attaching it to elemental damage with attacks, combustion, and fire penetration for maximum single target damage. And Frostferno is interesting in that it grants +2 to level of socketed fire gems and cold gems. Elemental Hit is both a cold and a fire gem. If you have a look at those tags at the top of the little box there, you'll see it is an attack, a projectile, a melee, a fire, a cold, a lightning, an AoE, and a bow gem. All of those things at once. That means that it gets +4 levels from the Frostferno helmet. It's then also socketed gems are supported by level 30 Cold to Fire. That means we don't need to actually socket Cold to Fire because it is one of the best support gems available. So we just have fire penetration, combustion, and elemental damage with attacks to deal a maximum damage to a single target. And so we have our wide spreading attack and our single target version as well. You also notice that I'm wearing Headhunter. Headhunter is a ridiculously powerful item, but also one that is not necessary. It's a lot of fun when you can pull it off. It does some ridiculous things, but you can certainly go perfectly well without it. Dying Sun is another very powerful item. It drops from the Shaper. You'll notice here I'm firing off Elemental Hit as a single target skill. This is what it looks like with Dying Sun active. You'll notice that it goes to 3 arrows instead of just being 1. If I fire my widespread greater multiple projectiles version, you'll see I'm firing off 7 arrows instead of the usual 5. Dying Sun adds 2 projectiles. It adds area of effect to the explosions that are hit. Basically speaking, it is an exceptionally good flask, even though it was nerfed a little bit when Ruby flasks were changed a couple of leagues ago. In short, it's a very powerful effect. And in terms of the passive tree, I'm not certain that this is optimal anymore. This was a solid passive tree in 3.3. I believe you may be able to do better now. There's been a whole series of changes to the passive tree, but this is still a functional passive tree. It will get the job done while you're working on something better. Importantly, it has acrobatics and phase acrobatics for a form of defense. However, you are still a very squishy character. If you follow this build exactly, you'll see that I'm only sitting on 5,000 health, and you'll notice that I died in the tier 14 map that I was running before. Part of that is just a lack of familiarity with the character, but it's not the most durable character around. It's fairly durable, it's not monstrously durable, and a lot of its durability comes about from dodging, from just its ability to zip around quickly via use of Blink Arrow. Blink Arrow is a very strong skill on a Deadeye. You have 100% cooldown reduction on it, which means that you can use it as a quick get out of jail free card. In terms of other things that we're using to scale damage, we are using Warlord's Mark. Warlord's Mark provides life leech and mana leech when you hit enemies. This is a phenomenal way of recovering life and mana during combat. It won't be feeding you life so quickly that you can ignore incoming damage, but it will provide you enough life regeneration from leech that if you are taking a beating, you can recover safely when you get away. Additionally, we've got Herald of Ash. This provides some benefit for overkill damage. If you hit an enemy for 1,000,000 damage and they've only got 10,000 health, that extra 990,000 damage would be wasted. Herald of Ash comes in and says that 25% of that overkill damage is inflicted to nearby enemies as a big burn. Lastly, we're using Summon Ice Golem just as a small little source of extra critical strike and accuracy, and then we are using Blood Rage as a source of Life Leech, and also as a way of increasing our attack speed. Our attack speed is already lightning fast, but with Blood Rage it is absolutely insane. And you can see just how much mana we're going through there, just how quickly we can chew up enemies there. Anyways, this is a build that is a proven starter. It's a bit difficult to play early on in the league. Elemental Hit isn't the strongest skill for leveling. What you want to do is run Split Arrow as your leveling skill, or alternately you can use Toxic Rain or Scourge Arrow or Rain of Arrows. All of those will work. These are just better than Elemental Hit is. You want to be able to trade for both a cold blocking and a lightning blocking duel for the Elemental Hit skill. Once you got both of those, you'll be able to consider respecking into Elemental Hit. At that point, you want to set up a critical strikes focused tree. You want to pick up all of the life and defenses that you need, and that's basically all there is to it. If you got any questions about the build, fire them away below. Otherwise, if you enjoy playing this, let me know. If you don't, also let me know, and have a good one.